In pidgin grammar, like morphology, sentence structure is also simplified. So, we do not have negative sentence structure. Negative is formed with a negative particle no before the sentence. So, John no won't go means John no want go, and what it actually means is John doesn't want to go. So we do not have a negative sentence structure. The negativity or the negation is expressed with the addition of the word no in the sentence before that particular clause. Similarly, the clause structure itself otherwise is also not complicated. It is very simple. We have no embedded clauses. So since there are no embedded clauses, the sentence structure is very simple. We have no complex sentences, no compound sentences, etc., which means that we do not have sentences in Pidgin English which use relative clauses. And as you might know, a relative clause is a clause which we make or which starts with the word that, which, or who. An example would be the boy who's standing at the door is Imran, or the sandwich that you ate for lunch was mine. So that you ate is a relative clause. In the sentence, the boy who's standing at the door, so who's standing at the door is a relative clause. In Pidgin English, relative clauses are completely missing because we do not have complex sentences in Pidgin. Let's take a look at some examples. Upi lo pikanin yena fona skofu. Whatever that means, it actually means where the child, she or he, want food. So where is the child who wants food? Instead of saying who wants food, etc., we have a simple structure where you only say where the child wants food. Instead of saying where is the child who wants food, you only say where the child wants food. So the relative clause who wants food is missing. Gradually, when Pidgins started their journey towards becoming a Creole, the grammar started becoming slightly more complicated. So there were 4 types of changes that took place in Pidgin grammar when it started gradually evolving into a Creole, or when Pidgins started evolving into Creoles. One of the changes was increase in speech rate, which resulted in the assimilation and reduction of certain sounds. Assimilation is when 2 sounds or when one sound starts sounding like another adjacent sound, and it normally happens when the speech rate is increased, or when you speak very fluently. So a word like handbag may sound like handbag, and a phrase like good girl may sound like Google. If you speak fluently or you speak at a high speech rate. So the changes which took place in Pidgins was, one of the changes that took place in Pidgins was a phrase like man belong me, because of the assimilation, when the speech rate increased gradually, when the Pidgin speakers got more control of their pidgins. Man belong me, which means my husband, changed into mom blow me, which again means my husband. So assimilation of sounds took place. That was one change when Pidgins started evolving into Creoles. The other change was expansion in Pidgin vocabulary. So earlier we said that there was lengthy coding of meanings in words in Pidgins, but when Pidgins started evolving into Creoles, they started using fewer words. So we had new, shorter words. Man belong fight would mean man belong fight, which actually means a fighter. So man belong fight or man belong fight would become fight man, which means fight man, which actually means a fighter. So instead of three words, we have one long word, fight man, to say fighter. The other change that took place in pidgins was their word building capacity. So I am, the sound im, or the word, the suffix im, the suffix im was added to adjectives and verbs, and these adjectives and verbs then became or served different purposes. For example, a noun with the addition of I am would become a verb. So big, or an adjective, would become a verb. So big, which means big or large, would become bikim, which means to enlarge. So it becomes a verb. Similarly, the adjective bright, which meant or which means wide, is changed into a verb with the addition of the suffix im. So brighten would mean to widen. The third change which took place in pidgin grammar was the development of some sort of a tense system. Earlier we had no tense marking. Now the tense was marked with the addition of certain words. One of those words was bin. So Bangai bin, start long Monday would mean meeting has been start along Monday, which actually means the meeting started on Monday. We looked at this example earlier also. And also notice the use of the word along to mean on. So only two prepositions were used, belong and along. So instead of saying on, they say along Monday, which means on Monday. Another tense marking which was used was the use of word by, which indicated future. By is derived from the English phrase by and by, which means gradually. So na by finis long Friday, April 22nd means April, and by finish along Friday, April 22nd. This can be translated into this sentence, and will finish on Friday, April 22nd. So the word by in this sentence indicates the future tense. So that is how pidgin grammar gradually developed and started using words which indicated tense of different verbs. The fourth change which took place was there was greater sentence complexity, which means that perhaps we now had embedded sentences and we had relative clauses. To show this relativity of a certain subject in a sentence, a word ya was used in pidgin English. So, Mary ya I stop long, full I hanger would mean woman, and ya in this example is the relative subject marker, which probably in our English, which in fact the English as we know will mean who. So instead of the word who, there was a word used which was used for marking relative subject, and this word was ya. So what this phrase actually means is woman ya stay in hole was hungry, and this can be translated into the woman who stayed in the hole was hungry. So we see that when Creoles started when pidgin started evolving into Creoles, their grammar became more complicated, and then it started using indicators of tense on verbs, and also a capacity to increase its vocabulary.